We were we were just talking about how ridiculous it is that certain certain things within society, like speed limits, especially in school zones, complete 100% agree, increases the level of safety. I think we had it was either a person who come into high school or it would have been high school because we were about to start driving. And they described why it was so important that the 40-kilometer-hour zone actually was installed. And it's because if you were to do 60 kilometers in the same zone to come to a full stop, it's like 20 meters extra. It's like quite a substantial difference between braking, especially with regular cars, which shit brakes that aren't upkept very often. And obviously, my car has fucking carbon ceramics. It'll stop on a dime. But it's also quite heavy. So even if I was doing 60, I'd still have a much larger stopping distance than 40 kilometers an hour. And so that's one of the ones and one of like the governing rules of society that I look at and I go, no, that was actually really well thought out. And I 100% agree with it being applied all over the place because you want to keep kids safe. And that's a great way to do it, whilst also making sure that cars can go past the school in a safe and effective manner. The ones that I vehemently disagree with are just the revenue raising bullshit fucking tactics that do not increase the level of safety, effectiveness, efficiency of anything, really. I mean, you think about it like I might be rather uneducated on the opinion, on the topic rather, and I'm willing to admit that I've done absolutely no research into why certain zones have certain times attached to them in terms of parking. But is a 30-minute zone versus a 1 hour zone really going to make that big of a fucking difference? Not really. Like to the parking flow and the availability of spots. Like you're only ever going to be there for the amount of time that you need to be there. Is the amount of time that you're parking, like the amount of time that you have available, really going to dictate how long you stay there for the majority of times? Or are you going to really just park where you need to, get what you need done, and then get out? Like maybe some people go there and they're fucking watching their watch. They're like, oh, 29 minutes. I better sprint back to the car. But I really fail to see how that is making anything easier, simpler, or better. And so the financial ramifications of getting booked for parking in a spot much longer. Like if I left my car there for 2 days, is it really like that might be a bit of a problem. 2 days, 3 days, a week. Okay. I kind of understand. But if we just changed everything to 4 hours, it's pretty reasonable. Like, especially if people are working 9 to 5, they only have to move their car once. These poor bastards in Penrith behind the old gym, you see them and they work in law firms and the vets, and we have a couple of different businesses around us. And every day there's a section of the car park behind the gym that is no hours attached, because there has to be a certain allocation, as far as I understand, there has to be a certain allocation for public transport users, because obviously they get in the train to the city and they can't move their car, and they get there very early to guarantee that they have a spot there. And I knew that was the case because it was the same cars in the same spots every single fucking day. And then a little bit further down, it started to be 3 hours. And so these people that live in these areas, work in these areas, they're coming out of their job every 2 or 3 hours or 2.5 hours to get in and then move their car back in and out of the spot. That's a fucking massive pain in the ass. And I'm sure the law firm is not happy with having their guys like dawdle out there, come back. And even I was talking to a mate of mine, I'm using the brick device for my phone. It's just this little plastic square thing that you tap so that your phone, well, it goes on automatically if you set a schedule. And so every day at 1:30, my phone will turn off Instagram, TikTok, and I'm considering messages and phone calls as well, especially with the amount of fucking stupid phone calls I've been getting today. But it just blocks those apps out completely. And if you try and open it, it'll just say, go back to living, which I find really cool. They've actually done a really good job with that. And, excuse me, it's actually been super impactful, very impactful. But the reason why isn't just because I can't access those apps. And this is what I was talking to Ryan about. There's very good research to say that task switching is actually the killer of productivity. And as soon as you switch from one thing to another, let's say you're at work, you're on the computer, and you're into writing a document or a spreadsheet or doing whatever you do, and then an email pops up, and then you like quickly read it, and then you think about like what your response should be, and you go, I'll respond to that later. I'm halfway through doing this. Supposedly, just the fact that you switch tasks, your brain switched focus from one thing to another, it may take up to 5 to 10 minutes to get back into the rhythm of that initial task. So imagine how many 5 to 10 minute periods you're actually going through where you've got a less than efficient or a delayed response to getting back to the flow of that initial task, just by having notifications, just by having the access to Instagram, or even the temptation of social media, going out to your car every 2.5 hours to go and fuck around and go into some arbitrary, ridiculous task because some fucking number on some sign says you can't park there for however long. It actually makes a really big difference. And that's one of the crucial benefits that I've found from using the brick thing, because I was like responding to DMs and doing questions and answers and that sort of stuff in between the work that I have to do, or if I was writing, or if I was doing any of the normal stuff that I do business-wise. And then I would find there would be like a dip in creativity or a lull in productivity after that had occurred. And so now that I've turned those things off, it's been so much easier. But anyway, back to the rant on the bullshit. The worst one by far in terms of like revenue raising generation is those fucking mobile speed cameras. Like, I don't know. I briefly did read something about the data on effectiveness of reducing crashes and increasing road safety based on speed cameras. And I'm fairly certain that it was negligible. And it was even more negligible for the mobile versions, because most people aren't paying attention anyway, and whatever else. But fuck, that should be looked at as a criminal organization, forcing people to, well, not forcing, they're offering them the job and then they're taking the job, but getting your fellow man to just steal money off people. And everyone's going to go like, oh, well, you just don't speed. You're like, yeah, but sometimes the fucking kids are in the back of the car, they're going nuts, you're doing 3Ks over, you just don't notice. It happens all the time. I used to drive to North Sydney training at 4:30 in the morning, and we'd train for like 3 hours, then I'd be driving home and I'd be fucking knackered, first from the early wake up, but then second from the training. And half the time, especially as a young driver, you don't develop that maturity, first of all, to pull over when you're tired, because you're like, I'll just get there, it doesn't matter. And then second of all, just the maturity of driving well and having that focus for the longer periods. It's difficult when you're young because your brain isn't fully developed. Or at least that's what I've experienced in my history. And I would be like doing these. And it's very dangerous to do that in the Lane Cove Tunnel when you're certainly not paying attention to your speed. And again, you're not doing like 150 through there because it would be completely ridiculous. But you're doing 83, 84. Maybe you're just driving downhill a little bit faster. You take your foot off the accelerator. You're not quite braking yet. There are all these instances, but I don't know, man. I just don't see why these things have to be in place, especially when there's not like a gigantic increase in, quality of life's probably not the best word, but efficiency, effectiveness, safety of road users, or anything of that variety. I just think it's a bit ridiculous. But anyway, that's the rant over. Nick got me all fucking jazzed up before we started talking, or recording rather. I wanted to talk about finding good individuals in your circle and like in your community, possibly even joining a community of like-minded people, and how important that is. And I think this can't be said enough, because we're going through the late stages of pregnancy at the moment. And even very close relatives are saying some things that are just, in my opinion, extremely abhorrent. Just based on certain decisions that certain people are making. I'll keep it vague on purpose. I don't want to alienate anybody that may or may not listen to this, but when you have a certain decision in your life, let's put it into a business perspective, and you're from a family that's never run a business, and their whole ideology is you excuse me, sorry, this is still going and it's really fucking annoying. Hopefully it's gone by next week. It'd be great. But let's say they've never run a business. Historically, their family have never really been business oriented, and their whole ideology is get a job, play the safe card, basically, save up, buy a house, have kids, have a family, yada, yada. And you bring to the table that you don't really want to do that. And that in today's day and age, that is not as lucrative as it used to be, and rather not as possible as it used to be, just going for the safe route. And many young kids feel this way. A lot of young kids feel this way. A lot of kids are starting to wake up to the idea that that really isn't a path that they want to be following. They want a certain amount of freedom, and they want to experience a certain amount of things. They want to go on holidays. They want to drive nice cars. They want to live where they would like to live. They want to have location freedom, but then also time freedom, which is a bit of a myth anyway, because you ditch a 9 to 5 and then you go from that to 24/7. There are a lot more benefits than 9 to 5, believe me. But yeah, you definitely, you don't have any hours of work, because work is just what you do now. But it feels like play. So it's actually really enjoyable. You don't dread going to work. And so the increase in hours is actually doing what you would like to do, so that it doesn't really feel constricting, or how else would I put that? Suffocating. That's how I felt when I was trying to do like a traditional job. But anyway, you're this young kid and you bring this idea to your parents because you don't really see a pathway forwards where work in the normal job is going to be effective for you, or what you want, right? And they immediately shun the idea. They say it's too risky. You're never going to make it. There's only certain people that are going to make it. They might even bring up the business statistics of like 90% of businesses fail within 5 years. And that's because people that open them just think that opening them, like build it and they will come. No. Build it and remind them every single fucking day and they will come. That's a big difference between the mentality of application. And so you're going to get shot down before you even start. And I got a mate of mine who has proven his parents wrong to some degree. But at the very beginning, when he first started his business, they were giving him so much shit. And he actually had to develop a lot of resilience and a lot of grit to ignore that, because especially when you're young, maybe not in your late teens, because you've kind of broken that narrative that like mum and dad are superheroes, but still you respect them because they're older than you and they have life experience and all of these things that you haven't gone through yet that may be valuable for you to listen to, so that you can leverage that into your own experience. Especially if your parents have done some cool shit. If your parents haven't done some cool shit, taking their advice might be the worst thing that you can do. Especially in this current scenario. Like I would never go to my parents for business advice. My dad ran I think he was part of running a carpentry business. I don't think he actually ran his own. I'd have to ask him, but safe to say he's not doing it anymore, and it didn't last very long. And then he decided to do family portraits, and that didn't really pan out too well either. And so I could ask him advice on how to fuck one up potentially. I'm joking. I could ask him advice on how to not run a business, but I certainly wouldn't be asking him advice on how to run one. And so that starts to become really important when you're thinking about branching out and doing things differently, especially within family circles and even friend circles. And this is why it's really important. I keep going back and forth on this whole idea of speaking your goals out. I think it's super important that you be very selective on who you choose to share those things with. Because like I just explained, you share your goals to the wrong people. And unfortunately for the majority of society, they're not going to be immediately supportive. First of all, because you have goals in the first place. Because there was some study that's been heavily criticized, but you still hear people say it all the time, and it's a good rough metric. But apparently only 3% of adults have goals that are actually physically written down. And then I think 80% of them didn't have any. And then 17% or the remaining 17% had them, but hadn't like committed them to paper or notes in your phone or anything like that. And so it was very flippant. There was no substance to them. And so it was more of like an afterthought than anything else. Whereas if you physically committed it to writing or like typed it out and had it and reviewed it constantly, that was the thing that actually gave you the highest chance of achieving it because it's on top of mind all of the time. And that's the biggest thing that I've found with goal setting. It's not just writing them. This is a very lazy way to think about it. It's the same lazy way that people think about business. So you build it and they will come. Well, you write the goal and then it gets set and then it gets achieved. Well, no, that's not how it fucking works. You write it to have what's called your North Star, like your guiding principle. And then that becomes the filter for all of your decision making every single day. So if my goal is to earn more money than I spend, then when I'm presented with the opportunity to spend more than I make in a month, then I won't take that opportunity. No matter how good the offer is, no matter how good the supposed like return on investment is or could be, I won't make that decision because I've already set the goal and the parameters for my decision making don't align with that. And it's a very similar thing of like when you get to a certain, it's so ridiculous. When you get to a certain Instagram following number that literally doesn't fucking mean anything, you get like requests on your time constantly. Can you be on my podcast? Can you fucking shout me out? Can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? And the way that I've organized my goals is that I have to be extremely focused on a couple of areas of life, and then that's it. And unfortunately, most of the time, doing other podcasts is kind of not on the priority list. And so if I was to say yes to everything, I'd be going against my filtration mechanism for my decision making on how I actually get to where I want to go. And so I could do them and there could be some benefit from that. But it's now that I am taking on board too much that is spreading me too thin, that isn't necessarily going to drive the numbers that I would like. It's more of just like an entertainment thing, right? And within my goals, there is not a very high importance. Well, it literally doesn't exist in my goals, but there is no importance, I should say, on entertainment. I don't give a single fuck if I am entertained throughout the journey of the attainment of what I want. That's just not how I operate, because I know being entertained or being motivated for that matter, being happy for that matter. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy every day of my life. I'm not going to sit here and say that I fucking sit here and grind away and I'm very sad about it or just have to be motivated or like the whole Goggins thing, like stay hard. Emotions are gay. They're not. They're very important. But they're also like, I really like how Dimitri Bivol explains it. He goes, they're like spices for your life. They're like the add-ons. They're the thing that brings it to life. Just like a an extremely good chef would add certain hints of thyme or saffron or coriander or anything like that, just to really bring out the punch of the meal. You could eat it without it, but it wouldn't be as good. It's like scrambled eggs. Scrambled eggs are pretty fucking good, but my God, they are 10 times better with a shitload of salt all over them. There's no arguing about that. If you're a pepper guy, sure, put pepper on it. I'm not one of those people. I'm a salt guy. But whack some salt on them and they're 10 times better. And so it's really a nice distinction. Like you could eat the eggs without it. You could do life without emotions. You could just block everything out. But unfortunately, what most people don't realize when they take that path is that, yeah, you block out some of the negative ones and maybe some of the situations where you'd be like overly angry or aggressive or anything like that. But you also block out the enjoyment and the happiness and the feelings of fulfillment, elation, all that sort of stuff. And so you can't afford to block all of them out, but see them as what they are. See them as spices. See them as additional, not the whole purpose. And so like when you're moving towards a task, motivation is not the foundation of that. And because if it is, feelings are ephemeral and they will go away. And when they go away, so will your work ethic and all the things that you're doing. And so then you won't get anywhere near where you need to go because there's a person out there that doesn't need to be motivated to do the shit that they need to do. They just do it. Like I don't need to be motivated when I wake up in the morning and get my post ready for 8:30 every fucking day. I also don't need to be motivated when I get my post ready for 12:30 every single fucking day. And I've done that every day for the last year and a bit. And some days I feel like doing it. Some days I feel like not doing it. But every day I do it. And then you start to learn what I've just told you. You start to really experience it because you're like, well, I did it when I didn't really feel like I wanted to. Fuck, that's actually pretty cool. Like, I can have a challenge ahead of me that I know is going to be difficult, that I may or may not feel like committing to, but I know that I can do it regardless of that. And that actually is not the most important factor. It's whether I commit to doing what I said I was going to do. And that's pretty cool because if you can get to a place where you only do the things that you say you were going to do and vice versa, like if you're going to do it, say you're going to do it and then the other way around, but just don't do the other side of that. Don't say you're going to do something and then never do it. Because that's where you get into a trap where you can't trust yourself. And if you can't trust yourself, you can't move forward on anything. Because you will say like, oh, I'm going to open a business. But then you have a mountain stack of proof that you haven't followed through with the things that you said you were going to. And so when business gets tough, you get going instead of sticking it out there for the tasks that need doing. Because the most difficult thing about business isn't that you have to be intelligent. I've met plenty of business owners that are smooth brains who are doing very well financially. It's the consistency of it. It's the consistency of how many leads you ring every single day. It's the consistency of how many times you post every single day. It's the consistency of how you analyze what you're doing every day. And no one's going to give you a pat on the back for it. No one's going to be there clapping in the corner like, yeah, go you, you're doing it. Yeah, good job. Except for you. And then when you finally start to break through, then you've got all these vultures that come out that want to tear you down for it. Because you're doing something that they know that they could do, but they're just a fucking coward and they won't do it. Which is really, honestly, a very sad truth about individuals and the whole like tall poppy syndrome situation. And this is kind of where I'm getting to with the main point of the conversation, is that you really have to find people that are on the same road as you that are aiming at similar things. They can be different industries, they can be different sectors, they can be completely different topics. But as long as they're aiming upwards and they're actually putting in effort consistently behind what they say they want to achieve, you want to be around those people. They're very important to be around. And whether you agree with them completely or not is kind of irrelevant. But as long as they have those key characteristics and those key traits, you want to stick with them. Because having the opposite in your group of, excuse me, of individuals that are so quick to go, that won't work. They're not telling you that. They're actually giving you a window into their own mind, into the way that they operate. They don't believe they could do it. So they sure as fuck don't believe you could do it. Because in their mind, they might think that they're smarter than you or in a better position than you or something of that variety. They think they have an advantage somewhere. This is the most common. And to see you doing it, what they know they could do, especially because they have some sort of advantage in their mind, whether imagined or not, really burns people. It really fucking burns people because they know they can do it. They just choose not to. And then they choose to hide behind some sort of bullshit excuse where they're talking about, oh, it's like not the right time, or, it's easy for you because you don't have kids, or you don't have this situation, or I got a mortgage when I was young, and blah, blah, blah. I've got so many expenses. It's all rubbish. But even if you do have those things, don't use them as justifications as to why you didn't take a risk, because it's not true. Like, I have a really good mate of mine who's running a very successful online business in a couple of different capacities, a few very successful online businesses, and one physical products business that just got funded. And he has a kid. He has a mortgage. He's got a wife or fiance. He's got a dog that he looks after. And he still trains. Still lifts weights. Still does jiu-jitsu a handful of times a week. And so what the fuck is your excuse if you do have those things and you haven't done it? Well, your excuse is that you're justifying your position based on something fake. And it's hard for some people to hear that. It really is. But it should be. It should burn you. It should really fucking burn you down to your core that you're trying to cast shade on other individuals doing the thing that you know you could be doing, but you don't, only because you were too much of a fucking coward to do it yourself. And that's the only way that you can logically justify it, to say that, oh, well, I had this and I had this and I had this and I couldn't take risks because I had this shit going on, blah, blah, blah. Just whenever you feel like whenever you or your friend or someone around you, whenever you feel like they're going down that path of saying a sentence in that fashion, just tell them to pull their head out, pull their finger out. Like, what do you want? What do you want in that situation? Do you want to fucking complain and get sympathy from all your friends? Like, oh yeah, that's okay. Like, this happened and yeah, it was really hard for you. And that justifies why you didn't try that hard and why you didn't do the things you knew you could have done and you didn't do it. Like, does that make you feel better? Does it? Sure as fuck wouldn't make me feel better. It'd make me feel fucking worse. Like, the only thing you're really aiming for now is sympathy from other people as to why you didn't do something. Fuck that. Just get over the fact that you did have things in the way and you just didn't do it. And that even though you still have things in the way, just like every fucking other person who does shit that's cool, that you could still do it. You could still take a risk. You could still take a leap. You could still do anything that you wanted to. Now, obviously, people take that to the extreme and they go, well, I can't fly. Like, okay, fuckface. Do you feel smart now? Yeah, okay, I get it. You can't fly. No one can fly unless you buy a plane ticket. And then your little analogy doesn't work. But anyway, you get the point. People take that to the extreme just to invalidate your claim. But I genuinely believe, I'm probably willfully optimistic and maybe stupidly so, about the human race, because You just read any Instagram comment section and it's just a fucking war zone of retards. I try not to as much as possible. Sometimes it's too tempting, but I try not to as much as possible. And I'm still willfully optimistic, even in the environment that exists, that if you just committed and refused to quit and just said to yourself, you know what, instead of saying I can't do it, just say I haven't figured it out, comma, yet. And watch your world change. I used to be the I can't do it guy. I really did, like 5-6 years ago. And then I just made a decision that it was in my physical capabilities and within my power to find the information or find the people that have done what I'd like to do. And that I could either watch the videos or pay to get around the people that were doing what I wanted to do and get on with it. Like even my business mentor, Dan Martell, he's like, if you feel like you don't know something, don't just sit there and go, I don't know. Go to YouTube and type it in, because there's been somebody for any topic, any subject you can dream of that's made a video about what you're going through that solves your problem instantaneously. And then you're at the next level. And then you go to the next problem, type it into YouTube. And then you go, oh, wow. Like yesterday, literally yesterday, I'm watching his video, his coaching call video of the group that I'm a part of. And I go, fuck, his Zoom setup looks really good. I imagine he's probably using one of these cameras, like the camera that I use to film my content, for the Zoom. And he's probably like figured out a way to connect it to the computer and set the settings on so that it uses the external camera, not the internal camera. Instead of me wasting his fucking time and asking him that, which he would have been really pissed off about, by the way. He's very like, bring things to me that you know I'm the only person that can solve it. Like if ChatGPT or YouTube can solve it, don't fucking ask me the question. He also says the same thing that I say when I really fucking despise. I don't know if this is an autism thing or if it's a disagreeableness thing, because usually business owners are very disagreeable. That's why they get into business in the first place, because someone's like, you're worth $12.50 an hour. And you're like, fuck you. I'm worth way more than that. I know I can prove it. And then so you go off and start a business and you prove it. But he goes, don't ask how I am. I'm spectacular all of the time. There you go. You no longer ever need to ask me the question of, oh, how are you? Because it's just like, I don't know. I still think it's silly that I have this point that I refuse. I'm going to die on this hill for as long as I live. But I really genuinely hate people asking me that. I fucking despise it. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm like this. I think this is part of the individuation process, like the Carl Jung shadow side and the light and the light side. Sorry. And that's just part of my shadow side. I really fucking hate people asking me how I am, because it's irrelevant. You don't actually care. It's just a custom socially. And I know that I don't care how you're doing, and that might seem rough. Because if you genuinely had a problem and you like wanted me to help you solve it, you would come to me and you wouldn't wait for me to ask how you are. It's like, hey, I'm dealing with this. Do you reckon you can help me? Abso-fucking-lutely, I would be more than happy to help you get through that. But none of that required us doing the pleasantries at the start of like, oh, how are you doing? Like when people DM you on Instagram and they want something for you and they fucking glaze you a little bit before they like get to the point. You know how much more interested I would be in your like fake service that doesn't exist? I'd go from a 0 to a 1 interested, at least for 10 seconds, if you didn't like suck me off beforehand in the message, because it's really fake and disgusting and gross. Because they're like, oh, you're like Instagram's so amazing, or you're like business is so amazing, you're killing it. And then they offer you this fucking bullshit thing that you don't want. I don't know what when I was a lot younger, the whole trend was like e-com gurus, like you could be a drop shipper. And I think now for these young kids, it's like appointment setter. And they just blast DMing random accounts that have blue ticks and hundreds of thousands of followers. And I know what they're doing. They just like search your profile, probably feed it into an AI algorithm. I'm probably giving them too much credit. But they feed your profile, see that you're a creator or whatever the fuck, and that you have a link in your bio. My link doesn't even go to anything except an email sign up. So, haha, reverse. I'm not selling anything. I am. Give me your money. Only if you're a weapon and you want to get better at jiu-jitsu and you can't figure out how that's going to work. Then you know where to go. But beside that, excuse me, they send you these messages about becoming an appointment setter, and they go, well, I've taken people from 0 to 100,000 a month. And I'm like, if you really did that, wouldn't you just fucking do it yourself for your own business and then stop having to message random people that are never going to sign up to your shit because you didn't do enough due diligence to figure out if I actually even did sales calls or not? Because I don't fucking do sales calls. Sales calls are disgusting. And you would need to do sales calls to have an appointment setter or to justify even hiring an appointment setter. Because otherwise they're just going to sit there waiting for an appointment that no one calls them for. See how fucking retarded that is? Stop messaging me. It's really annoying. No, I have fun with it. I usually give them like the Ligma or the Sugma. Or Malone Brown is a really good one. I'll send him a message back and I'll be like, you're too late. I got a really good offer from this guy, Malone Brown. He's really famous. Have you heard of him? And they say, no, who's that? And I respond, you can't do it over text. You got to voice message him because otherwise it won't make sense in the text because it's missing context. And I go, Malone Brown, dick in your mouth. And that's the voice message that they receive. And then I block them. Fuck, that's going to ruin the story. And then I block them before they reply. So they get absolutely fed and roasted. And they're probably seething on the other end. And there's nothing they can do about it. And they can't tell me how much of a dickhead they think I am. Because you got blocked. Cop that cunt. It's so much fun. I'll do it until the day I die. I think it's so fucking funny. There's so many good variations of that too. I'm trying to work in a couple of them. Like, there's a little bit long-winded one. You're like, you know those music videos that they did, but it was like a remake of the music video. What did they used to call them? And then they're like, oh, I don't remember. I was like, oh, was it? And then you try and get them to say it. You're trying to get them to say like the word parodies. So you can say parodies nuts or like pair of these nuts. That one's a really fucking good one. Me and my mate Zach used to trade these with each other. And one day we're waiting in line for Messina, which in Australia is famous ice cream. Fucking unbelievable. It's actually gelato, but it's unbelievable. If you've had Messina, you understand what I'm talking about. And we're in the line and we're doing like the jokes, like the Ligma, the Sugma, the Malone Brown, Kisma, whatever. And I said, hey, Zach, have you ever heard of dick? And he's like, dick what? And I just go, dick in your mouth. And it wasn't like hidden behind any sort of joke or any sort of rhyme. And man, we laughed so fucking hard at that. The people in the line at Messina would have thought we were the biggest retards of all time. But my God, that was funny. And to circle back to the more serious part of the conversation, he's actually been one of those guys that has always been like, I see what you're doing. Like, fucking keep going. Never, ever once has it been a thing of like, nah, that's like too risky. Don't do that. You're going to fail and it's going to suck. My other best mate from high school, Marco, same thing. Like, fuck yeah. And I extend that same courtesy to him. He's got a removals business where he's doing like house moving and office moving and all that sort of stuff. I said the same thing to him. I was like, fuck yeah. Like, buy your own truck. Fuck this guy off that you're working for. Start running your own jobs. Like, it's going to be slow at the beginning. It's going to be hard. But as soon as you get around that side of the business and you guys can start doing it on your own, then you've got unlimited potential to start to raise that up. Like he's got his 3 brothers working with him, which is, I think, is absolutely fantastic. I think it's gangster. I would love to hire more of my family, but I would need to train them. Well, my sister would never work for me because she's a fucking savage as well and she'd never want a job. But I would need to train them so heavily that it might not even be worth the investment, because I could just hire somebody that's already doing the task that I need them to do and I wouldn't have to train them that much. But it's cool to see when family members jump in and support each other. And I think they're second generation Serbian, maybe first generation Serbian in Australia. They're all born here, to my knowledge, but I'm pretty sure his parents might have been born in Serbia and immigrated over, or maybe the grandparents. I can't remember completely which one it was, either first or second generation. And they've just got that hustle mentality. Like every first or second gen immigrant from Europe, man, fucking commendable to them. Like I got a group of Lebanese mates that I hang out with on a Saturday morning. Tomorrow morning, we all go have breakfast at this one spot. And I'm the only one who eats breakfast. They just have coffee because they're old and they wake up at like 4:30 in the morning. And by the time they come and see me, they've been awake for 17 hours. It's not that much, but most of them decide to fast in the morning for various reasons. But anyway, getting past the point. They're all like first and second, maybe even third. But what they've been able to build and what they've been able to achieve and the way that they look at business and life. And they are also, to go back to the main point of this conversation, they are also people that are like, fuck yeah, definitely do that. Like that's going to work 100%. Like knowing you and knowing your characteristics, pull the trigger, go and do it. And having that around you is so fucking good. That's the elixir. That's exactly what you need to try and find as much as humanly possible. Because I know Chris Williamson bangs on about it. Like I know Alex Hormozy bangs on about it, like the lonely chapter. There's only like, it's only as much as you pay attention to it. Like I haven't felt crippling loneliness on like a business journey. Maybe I'm not trying hard enough. Who fucking knows? I don't. But I haven't felt like this crippling loneliness that I really need to get away from, and it's really sad, and hustle grind. I just think it's fucking fake. It's bullshit. But it is a solo journey for a long period of time, and there's no guarantee that you're going to make it. It's quite stressful, and even when you do make it, whatever the fuck that means, there's always ways to lose it. You see it all the time. You see NFL players get broke, go broke. Basketball players go broke all the time, even though they're earning tens and 20s and 30s and 40s of millions of dollars per year while they're playing. Mike Tyson went broke, $400 million. Kept going out to bars and asking chicks if they like BMWs and going to fucking buy them one. It's crazy. I think he offered a cop a Rolls Royce to not arrest him. And I don't remember if the cop took it or not. I can't remember the story completely. Someone can fucking fact check me. But yeah, he was a wild man. He was a wild man. Very respectable for his fighting, but a wild man. But yeah, even when you do get to a certain level, there's always like that intrinsic angst. You're like, what if this doesn't last? And you're like, it's not going to last. That's why you have to get better every single day. And if you keep learning, here's what I figured out. Here's a pot of gold of Josh fucking wisdom that you may or may not find helpful. If you just decide to yourself that like the only option for you quitting is if you die, and I know it might sound crazy. I know it might sound hyperbolic is the word that I'm looking for. But really, like, if you just say to yourself, like, I'm not going to quit doing this, or I'm not going to quit marching in this direction until I get everything I want, until I die. And so therefore I get what I want, or I die trying, which is a really solid commitment. Like, it's not whether I feel like it or not. It's not whether I'm sick or not. It's not whether I'm healthy or whether I'm injured or not, or whether people support me or not, or anything like that. It's just like, I'm just going to keep marching and doing it. And you couple that with I will do what it takes, not what I assume it takes or not what I think it takes, or like I'll do everything in my power basically to figure out what it takes from like an education perspective, from a tactics perspective. So far as the skills that I need to develop, all that sort of stuff. I really think that as like a two-pronged approach is you can't fail. I think it's impregnable. I really do. It's worked extremely well for me. It's worked extremely well in a lot of the people that I've studied too, because they were kind of like, well, if this doesn't work out, well then we'll just pull the plug here. So it better fucking work out. Like the guys I probably listen to the most out of anyone is Suicide Boys, and they actually had that pact. I know I've talked about this on the show before. They said to themselves, if we haven't made it in the music industry by 30, we're just going to... And yeah, safe to say they fucking made it. Even in some of the songs, they're like, often themselves was the backup plan for if it didn't work. And so they really had to fucking push and make things happen. And I think you'd be surprised at what your brain does and how you can commit to things differently when you do go a little bit hyperbolic. Try it. See what happens. Find out. It's worked really well for me. It might not be your cup of tea, and that's completely fine because you don't even have to take anything on board that I ever say. But you listen to this show, so you might give a shit about what I have to say. I don't fucking know why. Maybe it's helpful for you. Hopefully it is. But yeah, I think that's a really good two-pronged approach. And then I think the secondary thing is finding people with that same energy, finding people with that same mentality. Like, I met a guy, right? I don't know if he listens to this or not, so maybe you'll never hear this, but he's a fucking absolute legend. I met a guy on a jiu-jitsu thingy that I was doing. And I didn't know who he was. I knew his friend. I've been friends with his mate for some years. I think we both started jiu-jitsu around a similar time, or at least we're like competing together at a similar time. And I was a white belt when he was a white belt. And I think then we went to like maybe blue belt together. I'm not sure. And then I just went, but that's what happens when you're like a pro versus a hobbyist. But anyway, I knew his friend. And so that was kind of like the in to the conversation. I spoke to him a little bit during the whole event. And then I got a really good understanding of who he was. We kind of like ran into each other as I was about to get my shuttle bus to the airport. I had like an hour and a half to kill. And I was just walking down the street. There was a cafe across the road. Just go grab coffee. Grabbed one with him and then went down to the beach. I didn't know that the beach was like a 50-meter walk from the resort that we were staying at for the entire 3 days. And I was like, how the fuck did I not know that in this direction there was just unimpeded coastline all the way down? And I could have been swimming in there. I could be walking down the beach. I was like, not upset, but I was like, you moron. Why would you? Every single time you walked out of the resort, you went that way instead of going that way. And God's paradise was that way. You just kept walking that way. And I was like, you fucking moron. But anyway, so I had a chat with this guy. We're walking down the beach. We're talking about all types of different things. We're talking about business. We're talking about a little bit of jiu-jitsu stuff. We're talking about philosophy and Alan Watts and different books we've read and how impactful they've been, different parts of our lives and journeys. And I was asking him about his previous career and how that shaped him and changed him as an individual, because it was pretty crazy. He was pretty high up in a certain field that required him to be, let's put it nicely, very skillful in a very particular way. That's very assistive to, things working smoothly in countries amidst threats. We'll put it that way. We'll be very vague on purpose. And we probably walked for about 45 minutes to an hour. And I just got this sense, like I got a really good feel off this guy. When you kind of just get an idea that they're a good dude and they're also like genuinely interested and participative of the conversation. It's not just like, it's not just lip service. And it's hard, right? This is kind of hard to distinguish between some of the time, because when you, again, have like a certain number against your name on Instagram, which doesn't fucking mean anything, it's completely ridiculous. People will say certain things to you to try and gamify something. They try and get close to you to get something out of you, and it's kind of weird sometimes, kind of strange. But I didn't get that feeling at all whatsoever talking to this guy. And since then, we've still been communicating on Instagram. It's very much the same thing as well. I'm talking to him about a new venture that I'm going to start talking about and start running very soon. And he's just like, that's fucking awesome, man. Like based on the history of what you've proven you've been able to do over the last couple of years, like I absolutely can't see why that would fucking be a bad thing. Like, fuck, go for it, rip in. And this is a dude that like I barely know. And this is what I mean. Like, it doesn't have to be a lifelong friend or somebody you've known for 8 to 10 years or anything like that. It can be just purely like an energy thing. And I get that in today's society, it's kind of hard to meet people genuinely anymore. Like you look at like the nightclub scene, and it's been completely demolished by the nightmare rectangle. Like everybody's terrified to get too loose because then they'll get recorded on one of the 1,000 phones that are in the venue, and then that might end up on social media, and then their boss might see it and they might get fired. Or everybody is so socially retarded that they just don't know how to have conversations anymore because it's not a Snapchat or a text. And it really has made a big difference. Mind you, I don't go out. I'm just relaying information that I've heard from individuals that I do know that go out quite often. And they said it's really like dystopian and comparative to 10 years ago. Big fucking difference, like a huge chasm in between the amount of fun you used to be able to have and the amount of fun that you can have now. And like, yeah, of course, it's partly up to the responsibility of the individual to create something. You know, there's always got to be that guy that starts the dancing for everybody else to get involved. But it's just that the energy's off. It's very hesitant and very standoffish and very judgmental, and it's gross. It's weird. And maybe it's a Sydney thing, admittedly. Sydney is very like that. I don't fucking like that about this place. I really love the city. I really do. Not like the center of the city, but like the entirety of Sydney. I really do. And probably got a soft spot for it because I've lived here, I've grown up here, I've never lived anywhere else. But there is that air of, you know, standoffishness, judgment. It's kind of weird. Like, I get that I look weird. I fully accept that. I'm fucking gigantic. I got weird kidney-looking ears. And admittedly, I don't see my own face when I'm storming around. So maybe I have fuck off stamped across my forehead. But I genuinely make a concerted effort to try and nod at people. Good morning. How you doing? I just went back on my own thing of like the how you doing thing. Fuck. I gotta stop doing that. But that's more of like a passing conversation. I'll justify it however I want. I'll fucking make an excuse. No, I'm not going to do that. But you try and like greet people as it used to be, like 10, 15 years ago. You were walking down the street 10, 15 years ago and you run into someone like, hey mate, what's going on? Nice day. And then keep walking. And then that's it. And you experience that when you do get out of Sydney. You experience it a lot. I have experienced it a lot more in Queensland. People seem to be a little bit more friendly, especially in like northern New South Wales and then even Queensland. Uber drivers, they love having a chat up north. They love it. But you can tell they really enjoy the job because they get to have conversations with so many different people. Whereas down in Sydney, it's like, is your name such and such? And you're like, yep, that's me. And then they're like dead silent for the whole trip. I don't catch a lot of Ubers, but most of the time it's the airport. There are exceptions, don't get me wrong. But the majority, most of the time, is just people like, nah, I'm not interested. This is not going to happen. And even at some cafes, you kind of feel like a little bit standoffish when you're getting served. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I've definitely heard this point echoed from a lot of people who live in Sydney, especially a lot of people who visit Sydney, comparative to the other states, at least on the eastern side. Haven't been to Perth much. Don't really want to. I've heard good things, but, you know, is it really that good? You know, they're like, oh, we got Six Head over here. And I'm like, yeah, we got Six Head in Sydney too, and it's got a better view. Six Head in Sydney is such a fucking good view. You literally, if you sit out the front, it's a steak place in the center, in the heart of Sydney. And you're in a beautiful venue, but if you sit out the front, it's all covered and everything like that. You've got the Opera House to your right, and you've got the Harbour Bridge to your left. Like the Harbour Bridge kind of cascades over the top of that left-hand side. You can see the start of it, like with the big brick pillar at the very beginning of the bridge, and you see the bridge like kind of wrap around the skyline on the left-hand side. And if you turn over to your right, especially at nighttime as it starts to get a little bit darker, you can see the pop of lights over the right-hand side and then the reflection of the Opera House as it starts to kind of come alive, and all the corners and all the lines and all the architecture starts to come out. It's really, really cool. And then you're on the water, so you get to see the cruise liners and the yachts, and sometimes there's pirate ships, which are really cool. Naval boats, all that sort of stuff, like constantly just peering across. It's a really, really cool place. They've done a fantastic job at setting the location of that joint. And the steak is just unfucking believable. They do this chocolate dry age, and my God, it's so fucking good. It's got like this caramelly, salty sweetness to it, but then it's got that pungent dry age, not over the top. Like in America, they fucked up dry age. It's way too much. It's way too moldy. It's too much. It's too much flavor. It kind of blows your head off. It's like the difference between sriracha and like ghost peppers. It's just, what are you doing? You don't need the ghost pepper. It's too much. No one likes that much spice. You're lying to yourself. You know you fucking don't like it. You like a little bit of a kick. You don't like your head to explode. It's just way too much. Some people go overboard. It's crazy. But it's just like that right amount of muskiness. And then that's within like the marbling of the fat that just melts in your mouth. Oh God, I'm going to go there this weekend for sure. Fuck. It's so good. And they do, they did this last year. I go there a lot. They did this last year. They did like this breadboard with this artisanal butter. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. I read it on menus all the time. But they had like this honey butter, and then they had like a whipped truffle butter, and there was all these different types of butters. And I didn't really like look at it and go, yeah, I want that. But it was my best mate Zach's birthday, and we did it for him and his partner. They're 5 days apart in August. It actually just happened. But this was a year ago. Their birthdays just happened. And he was like, no, we have to get that. And I was like, all right, it's your birthday. We'll fucking get whatever you want. I'm so glad he chose that, because the different flavors and the way that they popped off the most ridiculous sourdough bread that you've ever had that come out, literally it felt like it was fresh out of the oven. And it had like the crunch on the outside and the softness in the middle. And it was like aerated perfectly, so the butter dripped in down towards the crust. So as you get the crunch, you get like all the melting flavor. Oh God, it was so fucking good. Then there was a salted butter with like huge salt chunks in it. That one I think was my favorite with the honey. The honey one was really good. And I think there was one more. I think there was 4 or 5 of them, but they were so good. And we didn't finish it with the bread. So then the entrees came out. We had like more butter to put on the entrees. Fuck, it's amazing. But to put a nice little bow on this, everybody who listens to this and all those who don't, you can do whatever you like with your life. It's a custom playable game. And whatever you choose to do is whatever you will get. That's it. As you live and die by the consequences of your own decisions and your own actions. If you choose to act in a way that's very inconsistent, very ill-disciplined, then you will have the consequences of somebody who is ill-disciplined and inconsistent. That's the way that it works. Don't be upset when your gut hangs over your shorts when you only stick to a diet or stick to healthy eating and the gym for 2 weeks at a time. You can't be upset by that. That's just not how it works. You're lying to yourself. You're excusing yourself. You know you are. You know what you need to do, and you're just avoiding it. And that should piss you off because you know you can be better and you're just not doing it. Believe me, I know. I did it for 23 years. And then I stopped doing it and my life got really fucking good really quickly. It's just one decision. And this is a paradox of life. Everybody assumes that results kind of like trickle just across the graph like this. They just trickle and then like you have like a a slight incline of a rise over decades of time. And for the average person, that may be true. But for the person who puts in a disproportionate amount of effort, especially comparative to the average person, you put in a huge amount of effort and a huge amount of time and skill development and learning and iteration and implementation. And you start to lose that fear of what might happen if you fail and your friends look at you and point at you and go, haha, we told you it wouldn't work. First of all, fuck those people. But second of all, you just got to keep going. And then the real graph, not this one, not this like little bitch graph. The real graph looks like this. Nothing faster than you could have imagined. That's the real graph. And I wholeheartedly believe you are only 3 to 5 years away. And I say that very specifically because so many people just commit for 12 weeks. You cannot afford to do that. If you want outsized returns, you have to put in outsized effort, just the way that it works. You will live and die by the consequences of your own actions. And if you put in little bitch effort, well, then you get little bitch results. That's just how it works. But if you put in shitloads of effort, well, then you get shitloads of results. I don't know why this is hard for some people to contemplate, but it is. Because they get to a certain stage and things blow up in their face and they don't have the skills to deal with it yet. And they go, I suck, this sucks, business doesn't work, see you later. No, it works. There are millions of businesses across the world that are working currently. You don't know how to make your specific business work, yet. That's it. That's all it is. Same thing applies to jiu-jitsu. Well, I try to fucking invert underneath this guy every single time and he keeps shutting me down. Inversions don't work. Wrong. I've seen them and I've done them thousands of times. You don't know how to make them work currently against one specific person, yet. If you just add yet to everything, your mindset will change overnight. Instead of thinking, I've tried everything, I can't lose weight. First of all, you haven't tried everything. If you were to write me a list, this is fun. I used to do this to clients. If you were to write me a list of all the things you've tried, Do you think we'd get to everything? No, because they write down, oh, well, I tried the lemon detox diet, and then I tried the goji berry thing, and then I tried the, insert fucking bullshit fad diet that I saw on Channel 9 News between episodes of Friends. I tried the man shake. Well, the man shake's fucking fake bullshit. Don't use it. Yuck. Do you really think we're going to get to the list of everything? I watched Cat in the Hat the other day. Everything. Oh no, anything. Anything is what they say. My missus has all the kids shows on TV at the moment, just so she can prepare for like which ones we're going to show them, which ones we're not going to show them. If it's got gay shit in it, we're not showing them. Like, you know what I mean? If it's got propaganda in it, we're not showing it to them. If it's early 2000s, 90s, we're showing it to them. If it's past that, it needs to go through a rigorous selection process, which means I have to watch it, which is, it's part of the responsibility of being a good dad. I also slightly enjoy them. Like we watched Cars the other day. Cars is mad. Cars is such a good, fucking wholesome movie where they teach you about like belief in yourself. Yet he doesn't know how to drift. It's not that he can't drift. The fucking Lightning McQueen when he's learning from Doc in the dirt circle when he ruins their road. Such a good movie. I know you've watched it. You agree with me. Doesn't know how to do it. He doesn't sit there and go, oh, I can't know how to do it. He goes to the training ground, recognizes that it's a yet situation, and then learns how to do it, pulls it off in the final race, could win, didn't win, realizes that winning isn't everything, and then helps the old guy go across the line before he does, and then wins the hearts and minds of all the people who've watched that movie. It's so fucking good. Cars is the best movie. It's not the best movie, but it is a phenomenal children's movie. The best movie, likely, should we do a top 3, top 5? Maybe top 3. I don't know. I think Pulp Fiction is probably one of the best movies of all time. But I also think that I like Inglourious Bastards more than Pulp Fiction. I've watched it more, and I think I like the story more. I'm not the biggest fan of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I did enjoy it, but not as much as those two movies. Like, I know it's a Tarantino cockfest in this list, but he's very fucking good. Tarantino's a gangster. I really like Tarantino. I also really thoroughly enjoyed Guy Ritchie's The Gentleman with Matt McConaughey. That's in my top list for sure. I haven't like categorized these and enumerated them, but I really liked that movie. That was pretty good. Maybe I'll give this some more thought, and then I'll put a proper list together. You guys probably don't come for me. Come for me. Oh God! I hope Nick doesn't clip that one. I hope you got. I know that you guys don't come to me for my movie knowledge, but who the fuck knows? Maybe you do. I don't know what the fuck you're here for. It's just me rambling for hours at a time. But yeah, so we talked about finding really good support systems, knowing that you can do anything that you want to do, especially if you just put yet, and the two-pronged approach. Just setting the standard that I will do this, and I'm not going to quit until I cark it, and then that's it, end of. And then the second one is taking the responsibility of the fact that I can learn how to do this, which is kind of like the yet situation, but I will do what it takes, not what I think it takes. And sometimes I'm going to be wildly off. Like, I used to think that one post a week on Instagram would grow your Instagram account. Oh, how wrong I was. It's actually more in the neighborhood, depending on the amount of growth and the level that you're willing to push to and the team that you have behind you. It's actually more in the neighborhood of, at minimum, a post a day. Minimum post a day. If you want to go crazy, 2 posts a day. If you want to go nuts, 3 posts a day. If you want to do what Dan Martell and Alex Hormozy and all those fucking psychopaths are doing, it's 450 pieces a month, which is ridiculous. It's crazy. The quality that they put it out at and the frequency that they put it out at. Obviously, they got big media teams and creative directors and all these guys, but it's very impressive. I'm highly impressed by these individuals just based on their work ethic alone and their consistency. That's the most impressive part. It's not just they do it for a spurt, they do it for a summer. They're like, oh, here's my 8-week project. No, I'm doing it. And then that's it. Like Dan has a goal of being a top 5 personal brands, like of all time, and is currently getting 200 million views across all platforms content-wise a month. And if you had any idea about how fucking ridiculous that is, you would be extremely impressed by that. Like 200 million views a month is fucking crazy. I get probably 15 to 18, maybe on a good month 20 on my Instagram every 30 days. That's like 1/10. And I think I'm doing all right. And yeah, it just goes to show there's levels to the game. But I know how I'm going to get to their level. I just got to run their playbook, and I don't know how to do it, yet. But I see the way, I see the path. Like I know exactly what needs, not exactly what needs to be done, but I have a faint idea of what needs to be done. And that involves bringing people on board. It involves becoming more of a leader. It involves, like he told a story yesterday about filming some stuff. They flew this guy in, and this guy's like really at the top of his game for what he's doing, like content-wise. And they filmed all this stuff, and it was really good, apparently. And the files got corrupted, and then all the footage just... And if you've ever filmed something, you know that it can happen. Shit can fuck up. Batteries can go. Obviously, you have like checklists and systems to make sure that it doesn't. But as a leader, his response was unbelievable. Because most people, if they stub their toe, it ruins their day. If they drop a coffee cup, fuck, don't go near them for the next 24 hours. If someone cuts them off in traffic, 6 hours. Irate. Filthy, unable to come back to an emotional baseline. A bill comes in, don't speak to them, because they're very upset. They're going to be very upset for the next 7 days. Car breaks down, whole month written off. And that really goes to show you, like, emotional resilience, how fast you can get back to baseline is such an impressive skill, such an important skill. I used to be one of those people. My car broke down. I was fucking filthy for like 2.5 hours. But now, if I have anything go wrong with any part of my life, I'm kind of like, okay, that's interesting. What am I going to do about it? And then I don't have an emotional reaction to it. If I do, it's very minimal, and it ruins about 10 seconds of my day. And that's about it. Like, it really is. And I think jiu-jitsu has a lot to do with that. I think recognizing that things are pretty futile if you're not getting mounted and smothered by some big fat dude and you can't get out. It feels like you're getting waterboarded by flesh and sweat, and it's just fucking disgusting. It's also highly stressful. And you kind of freak out a little bit because you're like, I can't see the timer. Like, when is it going to end? Thankfully, I don't have these problems anymore, which is great. But it also pushed me to solve those problems quite quickly. But you start to realize how frivolous normal problems are. Like you go to the supermarket, you're there for one very specific thing, and it's sold out. You go, okay, I'll just drive to the next place. Most people are like, are you fucking serious? Like, as if they don't stock this, as if they're... And then they get mad about it, and then they ruin the rest of their shopping, and then they drive home angry, and then they fucking yell at their missus. And you're like, why? She didn't fucking do anything. You're mad because something out of your control happened, and then you get the shits about it, and then you let it ruin everything else. That's fucking stupid. You're a dummy. Stop being a fucking dummy. That doesn't make any sense. If you feel like you're that person, if you have a inkling that you may be very tightly strung, work on it. Your life gets 10 times better. I fucking guarantee it. Used to be the guy that took everything so seriously And it would legitimately ruin my day. The smallest inconvenience. And I can't fucking believe this. There was road work on the road. I'm going to be 3 minutes later than I expected. You know how fucking stupid that sounds? Even now, hopefully you guys listening to me talk about it in a stupid voice makes you realize how fucking stupid it actually is. Because it's stupid. I don't know why people do it. Fucking retarded. Anyway, but his response was the most impressive because I didn't really expect that he'd blow up about it. I'd expect that he would like be upset or whatever. But it wasn't even that. It wasn't even like a register for that. The question after it being brought to his attention was, well, okay, these are the facts. First of all, very mature of you to bring it to me instead of pretending like it didn't happen and me finding out later, then I would be pissed. Excuse me. But did you figure out a system and a way of operating to make sure that this doesn't happen again? And he was like, it was the first thing I did. He goes, okay, we're sweet. That's it. Even though he lost all this valuable footage and apparently it was the best stuff that they've ever done, blah, 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 blah. They flew this guy in. It was a big event, sick. People were going to really jam with it, really resonate with it. It was going to be very valuable for them and super impactful, and it was going to help a lot of people. And he's like, yeah, what do you do about it? And then he told him what he did about it, and he was like, okay, we're sweet, because now I know it won't happen again. And that's all you need to do, pretty much. Like, I'm going to run that playbook with my daughter and all of my other kids. I plan on having several. Probably 3, maybe 4. 3 is a really good number. And everybody who has 2 kids, they're like, don't do it. Don't do it. But that is strictly because you're going from 1 to 2, which is a 100% increase. But then if you go from 2 to 3, it's only a 33% increase. So it doesn't feel that much harder. And then if you go from 3 to 4, it's only a 25% increase. So it precipitously drops the more you have. I know it sounds crazy, but I think big families are sweet. More people to have the same mindset and the same values and the same understanding of the world that makes the world a better place. Like, my minions are going to be doing the same shit that I'm doing. Not like in a jiu-jitsu sense, but they're going to be working on themselves very diligently. They're going to be learning all the time. I'm even thinking about taking language tuition. I haven't figured out the language. I'm thinking possibly Arabic, only for the sole purpose that I want to talk shit to my barber while other people are there. And I think it'd be really funny to have them be like, what the fuck is the white guy talking Arabic for? But I think it actually might be a really useful language to try and learn, because I will have people to practice it with, and then they can kind of like help me through the process. Whereas if I tried to learn, let's say, something that might even be more useful, like Spanish. I don't know anyone that speaks Spanish. So I wouldn't be able to test myself with them in person. I probably just have to wait for the tutor every week, but I can double that speed if I make it Arabic. It might also be significantly more difficult, like they've already told me it is. But who knows? Maybe I'll really enjoy it. But I'm actually considering that because I would like my kids to learn a second language as well, because I think it's great for your brain. I think it's fantastic for your problem-solving abilities. I've heard that it's very good for hemisphere synchronization. So like the lefts and the rights, so the logical side and the creative side, it pairs them together really nicely, just based on the way that the neurons fire when you're trying to adopt a new model of understanding of the world. Because if you read translated Russian poetry or translated Arabic poetry, the way they describe things is magical. And I don't think you can get that same effect of reading that. I've heard people say that when it gets translated, it kind of loses its luster. When people who speak the native language describe it in English, they try their best to figure out a way to describe it the way that they read it in Arabic. They're like, oh, you can't get the same feel. And apparently it has this whimsy to it that's beautiful. And if you listen to it in the way that they listen to it, or you have the ability to be able to listen to it in the way that they listen to it, it takes on a whole different tone and a whole different meaning that you can't get from English because it's limited. But yeah, I'm considering that genuinely because I think it would be a very useful skill to have, whether they learn French or Mandarin or I don't know what. Maybe I ask them what they want to learn. You want to talk about frogs or you want to talk about, I don't know, frogs would be French, obviously. But I think that'd be an interesting skill to start to develop. And it also goes into what we've been talking about today. You're capable of fucking anything. I know it's going to be really difficult, and I know I can't do it yet, yet. I know a couple of words, but then I can just branch off and practice. And, it's a very low stakes environment. Like the necessity for whether I learn to speak French, Spanish, Italian, Mandarin, or Arabic is very low. I don't have a dying need or a time crunch or anything pressure oriented. So I can learn it in a very playful way and actually quite enjoy the process. So I think it might be a fun adventure. I might try it. We'll see. I'm not sold on it yet, but we'll see. Because I think I can't expect my kids to do things that I haven't done. And if I'm going to nudge them in that direction, then I will have to have done it myself. I think that's a very important principle to uphold. But I want them to do the same things that I do in terms of characteristics, traits, and habits. Learn all the time, never stop iterating, take action, ignore fear, recognize that it is the notification for action, not that you shouldn't act, and that it is basically fake once you recognize that you just pass right by it and go through it and do it anyway. Challenge yourself. Stick to your standards. Ignore people that try and pull you down. Find good support networks, of which they will have, because I exist and I plan on being a part of their lives forever. Unlike some parents, unfortunately. I know certain situations and whatever things happen, but some people just really fuck it up and just leave. I couldn't imagine it. I really couldn't imagine. And like, you know what? Full ignorance to most of the situations where it does happen. But you hear these stories and you're like, the kid's born, they see it for the first time and then they dip. And you're like, dude, how the fuck could you possibly think that is an acceptable response? Again, I don't know every single situation, but fuck, I would find it extremely difficult to make that decision and then be okay with it. But then I guess it's not my decision to make because I'm not gonna do that. But anyway, leading from in front I think is extremely important. Finding good people around you that support you and lift you up, not pull you down, extremely important. Two-pronged approach, extremely important. And that's about it. That's all I got for you motherfuckers today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I'll speak to you next week, depending on whether old Nicholas is gone on the Friday in Melbourne. Apparently he's decided he's doing something more important than filming this episode, but that is if it's on the Friday. But anyway, that's enough from me. Enjoy whatever it is you're doing after this, and I'll see you on the other side.